I stood outside the base gate in full Army service dress, dark blue, perfectly pressed, medals gleaming on my chest, Ohio sun beating down, 2 silver stars on my shoulders, and still, the young airman guarding the checkpoint didn't even flinch when he said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, you're not on the list." That moment, it hits you like a punch to the gut, not just because of the rejection, but because of who was inside that gate, my family. I had flown over 4,000 miles from Brussels for this, for my younger brother Dylan's promotion ceremony. No invite, no warm call, just a headline in Mom's Facebook post, "So proud of my baby boy, soon to be Lieutenant Colonel." I wasn't supposed to show up, but I did, because deep down, some part of me still wanted to be included, still wanted to be seen. But there I was, being turned away at the gate of a U.S. military installation in uniform, while my own family pretended I didn't exist. Behind the fence, I saw familiar faces gathering. My mom, her floral dress as loud as ever. Dylan's fiancée, Melissa, sleek as always, standing with her parents. They weren't whispering. They didn't have to. The smirks were enough. I heard Melissa say, just loud enough to cut through the air, "Guess even her family knows she's too much drama." And just like that, I was 16 again. The extra at the family gathering. The girl left off the Christmas card. The soldier who kept getting congratulations, but from her own mother. A man walked by. Melissa's uncle, I think. He glanced at me, then muttered under his breath, "This day isn't about her anyway." I didn't react. Not outwardly, but inside something curled tight in my chest. Not rage, not even pain. Just that old, familiar, dull throb of being unwanted. And if you've ever been left out by your own blood, if you know what it's like to succeed beyond anyone's expectations and still be treated like a footnote, then you know. This wasn't just a family snub. It was a rejection of identity. This isn't your typical revenge story. I wasn't here to make a scene. I was just here to clap, even if no one clapped for me. People always assume the military taught me how to hide my emotions. Truth is, I learned that long before boot camp at our family dinner table. Growing up, I was the oldest. Quiet, bookish, a little intense maybe, but I worked hard. Straight A's didn't come easy to me. I earned every single one with late nights and caffeine I had no business drinking in 8th grade. Dylan, on the other hand, he floated through life. Grinned, charmed, barely studied, but everything just worked for him. And my mom adored him for it. She'd say it with this light in her voice. "Dylan just has a gift, Adrienne. Don't push yourself too hard. It's okay if you're not naturally talented like he is." Every time she said it, I'd smile. Small, controlled. But inside, it was like I was shrinking, 1 invisible inch at a time. My dad, he was different. He saw me. He'd tack up my report cards in the garage, brag to the neighbors. "That's my girl," he'd say, ruffling my hair with oil-stained fingers. "Smartest damn 10-year-old in the county." He died of a heart attack when I was 16. The house went silent after that, but not in the grieving kind of way. In the way where the only spotlight left got aimed fully at Dylan. I became background noise. When I got accepted into West Point, Mom barely looked up from her magazine. "That's nice," she said, "but Dylan's applying to the Air Force Academy too, and, officer training is more his thing." I used to replay that moment in my head, like maybe if I'd said it differently, louder, she would have seen what it meant to me. Have you ever had that? Where you do everything right, everything they said would make them proud, and they still act like it's nothing? If you've lived through that, if you've ever stood there holding your success in both hands and watched your family act like it's a cheap souvenir, tell me. Please, drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. I need to know I'm not the only one, because for a long time I thought I was. I didn't expect a red carpet. I didn't even expect a thank you. I just thought, maybe if I showed up quietly, no fuss, no uniform with medals, just me. Maybe someone in my family would say, "I'm glad you came." Of course, I didn't get an invitation. Not even a group text. I saw the ceremony announcement through Dylan's fiancé's Instagram story, tucked behind a sponsored ad for matching robes. Still, I booked the flight, rented a car, took time off from briefings in Brussels. I even pressed my Army service dress the night before, not out of pride, just habit. I knew it would be awkward, but some foolish, stubborn part of me believed if they just saw me, saw the person I had become, something might shift. And that's the thing about people like us. We hold on to these tiny hopes, not because they're logical, but because even after a lifetime of being overlooked, there's still a little kid inside us who wants to be seen. So I showed up. I arrived early, parked far from the venue, and walked toward the gate. There was already a small line forming. Dylan's fiancée, Melissa, with her parents and a few extended family. Her dad saw me and gave that tight, awkward smile people give when they're not sure if they're supposed to greet you. Melissa didn't even fake it. She leaned toward her mom and said just loud enough, "I told Dylan this would happen." Her mom raised an eyebrow. "It's his day, not hers." I said nothing. The airman at the gate asked for my name. I gave it gently. He checked his clipboard, frowned, double-checked. "Sorry, ma'am. You're not on the list. I can't let you through." I nodded. I understand. But I didn't. Not really. Because it's one thing to not be invited. It's another to be blocked. By strangers. At your own brother's celebration. I stood there silent while Melissa and her family glided through the gate without hesitation. Someone behind me chuckled under their breath. The feeling wasn't rage. It wasn't even heartbreak. It was something colder, something familiar. That soft, sharp voice that said, "Of course you're not on the list, you never were." I was just about to turn away. You know that moment, when your body slumps just slightly, shoulders cave in, and you tell yourself, this was a mistake. That was me. Standing in the sun, fully uniformed, trying to pretend it didn't sting that badly. Then I heard the rumble of tires behind me. A black government SUV slowed to a crawl at the checkpoint, the kind with diplomatic plates and dark-tinted windows. The young airman stiffened. A second later, the back door opened, and Brigadier General Parks, the base commander, stepped out. But he wasn't alone. From the passenger side emerged Lieutenant General Raymond Davis, 3 stars gleaming on each shoulder. Former NATO liaison, my direct superior. I hadn't expected him here. They started walking toward the gate. Businesslike, brisk. General Davis barely glanced up, then paused mid-step. "Sinclair?" He turned fully to face me. His eyes dropped to my collar, noting the 2 silver stars. "You're not inside yet? What in the world?" The airman's face turned pale. Brigadier General Parks caught up, looked between us, then blinked hard at my uniform. The shift in posture was instant. He stood straighter, cleared his throat. "General Sinclair," he said, voice loud and clear. "Ma'am, welcome to Wright-Patterson. We weren't informed you'd be attending." Melissa, who had just stepped past the gate, froze. Her mother gasped. Her father squinted like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. The airman snapped to attention and saluted, panic rising in his voice. I'm sorry, ma'am. You weren't on the list. I didn't. The list was wrong." General Parks cut in, sharp but calm. "Escort General Sinclair's vehicle to VIP parking and ensure she's seated with senior command." He turned to me, more gently this time. "Ma'am, would you allow me the honor of escorting you personally?" The silence was deafening. Behind me, I heard someone whisper, "Did he just say, General?" I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. Because that moment, that's what it looks like when the world adjusts to you, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. The walk from the gate to the main building wasn't long, but with General Parks and Lieutenant General Davis flanking me on either side, it might as well have been a red carpet. Melissa and her parents stepped aside as we passed. I didn't look at them, but I felt their stares. You know that prickly sensation on your neck? That's what shame feels like, when it's on someone else for a change. Inside, the auditorium was already filling up. Rows of Air Force officers, enlisted guests, family members dressed in their best. The front row was lined with white name cards, distinguished visitors. I wasn't one of them, at least not according to the planners. Didn't matter. General Parks walked up to the event coordinator and simply said, General Sinclair will be sitting here. Center." No one argued. I sat down quietly, straight-backed, composed. But inside, I could feel my heart pounding like it wanted out of my chest. Not from nerves, from something more unfamiliar, something like being seen for the first time. A few minutes later, the lights dimmed, the national anthem played, then General Parks stepped up to the podium. "Good morning, everyone," he began, voice steady. "Today we celebrate outstanding airmen, men and women who've earned their next rank through hard work and discipline." There was polite applause. Then he paused, glanced toward me. "But before we begin, I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege." I felt my breath catch. "It's not often we're joined by someone of this caliber," he continued. "In attendance today is Major General Adrian Sinclair of the United States Army. With over 29 years of service, including multiple overseas deployments, leadership roles in joint commands, and key advisory positions in NATO, General Sinclair is one of the most decorated officers currently serving." He looked directly at me. "Ma'am, your presence honors us." A spotlight clicked on overhead, landing squarely on me. I didn't move right away. I wasn't used to this, not in rooms like these. Slowly, I stood. Nodded once, a small, respectful gesture. The room erupted into applause, loud, sustained, genuine. I caught glimpses. Junior officers leaning forward, whispering, enlisted airmen clapping with wide eyes, even a few of the senior brass nodding in approval. But most of all, I saw my brother, Dylan. He was standing stage left, prepping to be called next. His mouth was slightly open, his eyes locked on me, then quickly dropped. I knew that look. He hadn't told anyone who I really was. To them, I was probably just his weird sister in the army, not a general, not a NATO advisor, not anything that might outshine him. But now, that story was gone. Melissa looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Her mother leaned in to whisper something, but Melissa didn't respond. Her face was frozen in that expression people wear when they realize they've made a very public, very expensive mistake. And still, I stayed quiet. I didn't gloat, didn't smirk, didn't so much as raise an eyebrow. Because what would have been the point? I hadn't come for revenge. I came out of love. And now, the truth had spoken louder than any grudge ever could. I sat back down, the applause still echoing behind me. For the first time in my life, I hadn't begged to be seen. They saw me anyway. After the applause faded, I stayed still. Even as the ceremony continued, even as Dylan was finally called up, I kept my hands folded in my lap. When his name was announced, Major Dylan Sinclair, I clapped, loudly, sincerely, because I meant it. Despite everything, I was still proud of him. He walked up on stage, his shoulders pulled back, but I saw it. The stiffness in his steps, the flicker of unease in his face. He didn't look at me once. Not when the commander pinned his rank. Not when the photos were taken. Not when the crowd applauded. I had become the thing he tried to keep out of frame and failed. After the final salute and closing remarks, the room loosened up. People mingled, congratulated, posed for pictures. But something unexpected happened. A small line began to form, in front of me. Young officers, nervous but determined, approached one by one. "It's an honor, ma'am," said a lieutenant. "I didn't know women could even get that far," whispered another, eyes wide. "Can I ask how you made it through?" asked a female captain in her 20s. "Thank you for showing us what's possible." Their hands were warm. Their eyes were real. They weren't clapping because someone told them to. They were clapping because they saw me. It filled something in me I hadn't realized was still empty. Across the room, my family stood in a quiet corner. Melissa had her arms crossed, her face hard. Her parents looked visibly uncomfortable. My mom was glancing around the room as if searching for a way out. And Dylan, he just stood there. Still, no smile, no congratulations, just a kind of silence that looked like shame. And maybe that was its own kind of reckoning. But I didn't wait for him to come over. I didn't need a hug. I didn't need anyone to hand me what I had already earned. So I slipped away. No goodbyes, no dramatic confrontation. Just a quiet exit. The parking lot was nearly empty. My dress shoes clicked softly on the pavement as I made my way back to the rental car. The air was cooler now, lighter somehow. At the base gate, the same young airman who had turned me away earlier stood at attention. This time, when I passed, he snapped into a salute. His eyes met mine, not with fear, but with respect. I returned the salute with a nod, then drove out. On the flight home, somewhere above the clouds, I let myself feel it. Not anger, not sadness, just release, like a knot had finally come undone inside my chest. For years, I'd worked like every medal might make them proud, like every promotion might earn a seat at a table they never set for me. But sitting in that auditorium under that spotlight, I realized something simple and freeing. Their validation was never the prize. And their silence? That wasn't proof of my failure. It was just proof of who they were. A week later, I got a letter. Handwritten, no return address, just a line at the bottom. Airman First Class Wright-Patterson, AFB. It read, "Dear General Sinclair, I saw what happened at the gate. I watched how you stood there with your head high. I watched how those men greeted you, how the whole room rose to their feet. I've never seen a woman like you in uniform before. It changed something in me. I'm in a job where I rarely see anyone who looks like me at the top. But you showed up, and you didn't need to say a word. You reminded me that quiet strength is still strength. You reminded me not to disappear. Thank you. You probably don't remember my face, but I'll never forget yours. I read it 3 times, then I put it in a drawer beside all my medals. And for the first time in my entire career, I felt full. Not because I had proven them wrong, but because I had finally stopped needing them to be right. Have you ever poured your heart into something, your work, your growth, your whole life, only to be treated like a shadow in your own family? If you have, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. You are not invisible here. You are not alone. And I promise, someone is watching, finally seeing you, just like I was seen that day. Thank you for listening. I mean it.